Hey everybody, it's Strict9 with Strict9 GP, and welcome to episode 16, I believe, or maybe it's 17, of my Out of the Park Baseball 19 GM Challenge with the Reds. We're in the offseason now, finished the 2019 season. We've gone through all the awards and the arbitration and just started free agency. And this episode is primarily going to be about that. It's going to be about free agency to see if we can pick up some guys to help the team out. We are in a good spot in terms of the money available. You can see we have $66 million available for free agency, but in looking at what's out there right now, I'm not sure we're going to be able to boost the pitching that much, but we do have several position players that we lost in the offseason we're going to have to replace, and that's what I'll look at when we get into the free agency. But I wanted to start out first off going over how some of the awards went and how my arbitration went at the end of the season, and I'll pull those up real quick. So I have to go back a little bit here. Let me see. So starting off with the defensive players, the best gloveman, Gold Glove award winners. For the American League, it was some fairly expected players like Mookie Betts, Buxton, Lindor. For the National League, Tucker Barnhart did get it again for Cincinnati, so that's his third in a row. So good job for him on that. But that was it. That was the only Reds player who made the Gold Glove. Acuna got it in at left for Atlanta, so he's going to be just a all-around stud in this playthrough. And Hayward once again got it in right field. How many is that for him? Like 7 or 8. And he had a pretty good offensive year in this playthrough, to be honest. 274 average, double digits in home runs, 3.1 wins above replacement, not too bad. And then for the relievers, it was Andrew Miller for Houston. I think that's his second one in a row in this playthrough. Yeah, he got it in 18 and 19. Although he wasn't their closer, he did have a tremendous year, value-wise, 3.7 wins above replacement. And then in the National League, it went to Knebel. Is that how you say that? Not sure. For Milwaukee, that was his first award. He had a great year, 3.3 wins above replacement, low ERA. I was expecting that our closer might get some votes, but he didn't even show up in the list of votes there. For Platinum Stick Awards, typical guys here: Trout, Harper, who's now with Texas in the American League. Mazzara, who had a great year for Texas, also got it. Lindor, Machado. And then in the National League, Rhys Hoskins had a good year, got it for Philadelphia at first. He had 50 home runs, but also Shedrick Long picked up the award at second. So just an incredible rookie year for that guy. And then some of the other guys, some surprises here. David Dahl, Tapia, Will Myers in right field. So some surprises there in the Silver Slugger Award in the National League. And then for Rookies of the Year, it went to Arenas, who was, I guess, looks like he was an international free agent for Kansas City, had a good solid year. And then, hey, Shedrick Long got it for Cincinnati. Amazing rookie year. And he's come off a little bit in terms of what my scout thinks about him. He's now just a 3.5 with a 4-star potential. I think he was up to 4.5, 4, maybe even close to 5-star potential at one time, but great rookie year for him. And managers, A.J. Hinch at Houston, Joe Madden with the Cubs. And then Cy Young went to Chris Sale, who is now a free agent, but he got it for Boston in the American League, and then went to Syndergaard in the National League, who had a good year. That may have been Syndergaard's first. It is, yeah, it's first for him in this playthrough. and we didn't have anybody show up on the list for that award either. And then for MVP, went to Mike Trout in the American League. That's going to be his third overall in real life and this playthrough. I think, let's see, 19, 16, 14. But he had just a great year. Led the league in wins above replacement, OPS, slugging, on-base percentage, runs. Great year for him. And then Corey Seager got it in the National League, which I think I thought that was a little bit of a surprise. But a good overall year. He did lead the league in wins above replacement as well, but that was the only category he led the league in. And it seems like there were some other guys here who could have got the nod there too, but I don't think we had anyone. We didn't have anyone show up on the voting for that. Now, looking at salary arbitration, Chad Green, who is the closer right now, is talking about. Still a 4-star closer, had 38 saves. We got a pretty good deal with him. We let Michael Wacha file. Jimmy Nelson got $9 million. Lorenzen 1.7. Peraza 1.4. But we did let some guys go, and that's the first thing I want to look at now that we're getting into free agency. Go to the Offseason Center, and you can see the summaries by team. We are next to last. Only the Red Sox had lost more players than we did. They lost a lot of good players. I mean, Keuchel, Sale, they're going to have to rebuild that pitching staff, it looks like. They lost Zach Britton, who was primarily their closer when he was healthy. Porcello, he's a free agent now, so they're going to have a lot to overcome. For us, though, I made some pretty tough decisions. I hope that it turns out to be okay. But Billy Hamilton, his contact has really dipped now, and great defender, great speed. And I might, depends on how the rest of the free agency goes, I might consider giving him a look at that salary later on. He's definitely a fan favorite. He's very popular locally. But he is not going to be an everyday player right now, I don't think. And at $2.8 million, he wouldn't be bad to have even as a bench player. But I just don't think you're going to get much from him offensively. And I wanted to hold off on that in terms of like signing him. And I think, when I looked at extending him through the regular season, he was wanting double digits, like 10 million or more, and I just thought that was a little bit too much. I let him go. Nunez, who didn't really contribute much, let him go. Romine, who really had 2 solid seasons as a backup, I thought he was just wanting a little bit too much more money for the backup. And then, of course, Wacha, who 3-star, he gave me 16 wins. He was good for the most part after I traded for him, but he's wanting 25 million. I think that's just a little bit more than those ratings show for him. And then Jared Hughes, who had some good numbers, but his ratings are really pretty poor. Finally let Finnegan go. I don't think there's a spot for him. But a couple of big ones here that, and they were probably the two, outside of Wacha, they were 2 of the bigger guys I had to let go in terms of wins above replacement. Scott Schebler just wanted way too much, or there was just too much money in terms of arbitration that he was going to get. And I tried trading him, couldn't really find anything of value in the trade, nothing that I really needed. And as productive as he was for those 2 years, and really 3 years if you count the year before I started simming, his average is low, but he gives you really good production with home runs, RBIs, and runs. Pretty good defensive right fielder, and really probably a better defensive left fielder. But his ratings went down a little bit, especially contact. He's still going to strike out a lot. I didn't think I could swing $10 million a year for him, and I just decided I would risk it and see what's available in free agency. I don't think if he signs I don't think he's going to be a compensation pick, but um, it was tough to let him go without getting anything in return, but I just didn't have any options. And then Profar had a really good year for me last year when Peraza got injured and some other injuries on the infield. He filled in really good, and he plays a lot of positions and had a solid year, but he was just wanting too much money for an extension, and I decided to let him go as well. I think he was actually a free agent based on the time that he served, so he wasn't eligible for arbitration, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, I didn't think $4+ million, even though I have plenty of room right now, I didn't think $4 million was a good deal for him, just being a backup. And I don't really expect, with the ratings that he has, I don't expect to see that season from him again. So I, again, same with Shebler, I took the gamble and let him go, even though I didn't get anything in return. So now we've got several holes in the team. The pitching staff, a few 3-star guys, Jimmy Nelson, Molly, Castillo, and of course Hamels, who is also a 3-star and ready to come off the DL. Hopefully he can be healthy next year. He signed another 2 years. He's got a player option after next year. I've taken a look at what's available in free agency for starting pitchers, and I may just gamble on this a year. And I know if you've been watching these playthroughs, both this one and with the Phillies, there are two things that are pretty obvious. Pitching is at a premium, and it's really hard to get 4- and 5-star pitchers in either free agency or through trades. So you have to develop them. That's pretty much your best bet, is you're going to have to develop your the aces of your rotations. You're going to have to develop them in the system if you've got trading set to normal. And the AI is smart enough that they, for the most part, keep those good, solid pitchers. And so when I look at what's available, I'm either going to have to go way over what I'm comfortable going with budget-wise, or I'm just going to have to gamble that, a staff of like 3 or 4 3-star pitchers with no true ace is enough to get me by until either I have a better shot at next year's free agency or Hunter Green, which I'll look at too if he develops into the 4-star pitcher my scout thinks he's going to be. But if I look at what's available now, you got Quintana, who is on a long injuries. He's going to be available probably around the start of the season. He's coming off an injury-plagued year, a fairly good career so far, but $29 million. I think that's a gamble until he comes off that DL and we know how the injury is going to impact him. Chris Sale, of course, he's coming off the Cy Young. He's been very solid since 2014, if not beyond. Yeah, 2012. I mean, he's been solid for the last 8-9 years. But the ratings right now, 30 years, almost 31, his movement is not that great. He's going to give up a lot of home runs. He gave up 30-plus home runs in 2018 in this playthrough. I just don't think he's going to bring you value in terms of a high-end contract. And I mean, high-end, he's going to probably get 30 or more million a year, I would think. I don't know if he's going to get 40+ million like he's demanding, but he might. But you've got that to contend with. I don't think he's going to give you much more than maybe 2 or 3 more good years. And his personality ratings are pretty tough to deal with. I would be a little bit worried in terms of how he might impact the team chemistry, and I'm pretty sure he's going to want it. He is wanting a long-term contract, so I just feel like, 9 years of $372 million total. I can't do that, even though I have pretty good room in the budget this year, And then following him, I've got three and a half star pitchers, and these really are the only ones I would consider signing at this point. You got Garrett Cole. He's wanting $27 million, coming off a great year at Houston, but again, movement is a question with him. I just feel like that could be a danger in this game going forward with that movement not as good as it is. And then I got this guy who is a international free agent, and there's some things here that are positive for him. 4 solid pitches. For the most part, his 3 ratings, stuff, movement, control, are double digit. He's 32, but if you got him for maybe 3 years or so, wouldn't be too bad. Yeah, so $66 million. Yeah, that might be he's a good one, I think, to consider, because he's still not wanting the money that they're wanting. I mean, $17 million. If I were to just throw out an offer, he is wanting a long-term offer, 7 years. I mean, if I could get him for like 4, and if that last one as an option, might consider it. And then the last one is Keuchel, who is, again, wanting $20+ million. And age and the way the ratings are for him in this playthrough, good thing he has 5 pitches, but he hasn't looked that great in this playthrough. An ERA above 4.6, 4.8 in the last 2 seasons. I don't see paying him that much money either. So the only one really that I would consider would be Zhang, who's that international free agent. And Sonny Gray, he's wanting $20+ million again. That's just, I think, too much for me to swing right now. When you consider I have some other holes I've got to fill, and I want to go for the first time, I guess, in free agency, I'm looking at position players before pitchers, because 4 3-star players, maybe slot Gesellman in there at the 5th spot, or Lynn, depends on how he looks in spring training. And then, in a year or two, Hunter Green develops. He's going to start out in Double-A next year. He starts developing. He might be a potential, 2 or 3 starter for me. So I think I'm going to hold off on pitching for the most part in terms of starting pitching. And then the relief pitching, that's something I may look at for sure. I would like a little bit more development there. Now, and the position players, I'm going to stick with Barnhart, even though he's not giving you a whole lot of offense. That defense is hard to beat. But I probably want to pick up a backup catcher in free agency. Votto's individual ratings are still solid, but we noticed last year he's starting to slip in terms of performance. So I don't know how many years this playthrough, I don't know how many more I'll be able to ride with him. But I'll be solid at first. In terms of the middle infield, I might... there's a guy here, Dahl, in AAA that I just called up. He's got some good ratings defensively at second, short, good speed. He might be somebody who could come off the bench if I give him a shot in spring training. But Long is solid at second, Senzel solid at third. I imagine I can stick with Peraza another year at short with Blandino or Dahl playing off the bench. And then for the outfield, that's where I'm going to have to really focus on building the team. Now, Winker has developed into a very solid offensive player. He's going to be serviceable, I think, defensively, so left field should be okay. And now in the minors, I've got a couple guys here at AAA. Taylor Trammell, who I'm going to give a look in spring training. I'm going to see how good he looks in spring training. And that's one of the things that Girardi has gone with 2 rookies 2 years in a row in this playthrough. In 18, he went with Senzel. Turned out that was the right move. Last year, he went with Long over Jeanette in spring training, never looked back, and that was a good move. So it's possible that these 2 guys could have a shot at starting on the major league team next year. I mean, Cam Gibson, who I believe I traded. No, I did trade. I forgot all about that. I did get rid of Schebler, and I guess Washington did keep him. So I was a little bit confused about that. But yeah, I did trade for this guy. And for the most part, he looks pretty good. I mean, he's got great power, decent speed, good corner outfielder, either left or right. He played a little bit at AAA last year and looked okay for the most part. And then played a couple stops in 2 different AA teams, looked good there. So I think this guy has a shot at being an emergency type starter. If nothing else, I think he has a good chance at playing, and I'm going to just put him in there right now. I think he has a good chance at being a reserve outfielder. So what I'm going to have to look for, and Taylor Trammell, he is going to be slotted primarily at left. He's just not got the time in at the other positions. So if he develops, then I may have to look at moving Winker, even though he's not as good. I may have to move him over to right. But that leaves me looking for a starting center fielder, potentially starting shortstop if I find something out there that's a little bit better than Peraza. Although Peraza, he's been serviceable, and he had a pretty decent 2018. Last year he was injured quite a bit. So those are the things I'm primarily looking at, and I'll look at some relievers as well. And then once that's done, if there's anything out there that looks good in terms of starting pitching, then I might swing for it. I wanted to take a look too at the low in the A and high A and low A, and it looks like I really have some guys here who could develop, and these are guys that I've drafted. I drafted this guy in 2018. He's got some good upside, a potential 4-star for my scout. He's already at single A, and then another guy, Trevor Cadd, who's a potential 3.5-star. Closer candidate here. He's looking pretty good. He might have a good chance at being if not a closer, at least a middle reliever. Then got Jake Mangum, who's got some development to do, but he's looking pretty good as well. And then, of course, Hunter Green, if he develops. I haven't looked at this in a while, but I think my minor league system rankings are respectable. We're 18th. Green, Downs, and Trammell all showing up on that top 100. I'm not so sure about Jeter Downs. I think the OSA ratings have him a little bit higher. He's at Dayton right now, which is my low A team. He's a potential 3-star player from OSA. My scout just has him potential 2, and he's looked good and bad in the minors so far, but not sure how he's going to turn out. But before I move any further, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make some offers on some free agents, and then I might sim offline to see how good we do. So the first thing I'm going to be looking for is a center fielder. I want to hopefully a true center fielder as well. And we got Marcell Ozuna, who's really suited more, I would think, for the corners than center, and pretty good overall, but I don't know if I want to pay him that much. $17.5 million, that's a lot. And then I got Tanaka, whose offensive ratings aren't that great. Gutierrez, another one who's coming off a pretty solid year at Minnesota, but I need somebody who can play center. And And that's really going to be Hamilton. Ugh. Michael Taylor. He's another, he would be a good backup. Another guy in that kind of Billy Hamilton mode. Great speed, great defense. But unfortunately, there is nothing there. I mean, you have to go pretty far down. Chris Owings, he's rated at 9 at center. Good range overall. He's a hard worker, good speed, coming off a pretty decent year at Arizona. Not sure I could play him in center. He's a well above average defender. He's an average major league starter. Now, the thing about him is if I could sign him to maybe a short-term contract, let's see what he would go. He would take just a 1-year contract. I think I'll swing that one. I think I'll go for that. And so, I mean, that's going to leave me with these two guys who look pretty good, with potential Trammell being ready to throw into that mix. I don't think Friedel, who's a better center fielder, I don't think he's ready to start every day. I think he would be a good bench option. So if I get Owings, I think I would be okay. He's not a superstar player, I know that, but I think I would be okay with that roster that I have now. I just don't want to go with Ozuna, who's slated more for either left or right when I've got Trammell knocking on the door here. I'd have to really give Ozuna a pretty long-term contract at that money, I'm pretty sure. If I look at all outfielders, regardless of position, Ozuna is still the best overall. But Chris Owings at 2.5 stars, I think he's pretty decent with his overall rankings. So I could deal with that. So now let me look at shortstop. And I've got Bogarts for Boston. I feel like he's probably going to want a lot of money as well, $18.5 million. And the ratings for him defensively are not that great. Coming off a good year, though, for the most part. And then Gregorius, who's won $21 million, much better defender, good overall speed. But offensively, he's going to give you some decent power, good average. I just don't know if he's going to give you $20+ million worth. And then Freddie Galvis, $2.6 million. He would be a great. He's a fan favorite. He would be a great defensive replacement if he had more positions that he could play. I don't know that I would want to start him, although it looks like he started primarily for both teams he was with last year, Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh. Not sold on him. I'm afraid if I sign him, he'll want to be a starter, and I don't really want that. So we got he's wanting to be a starter as well. Enrique Hernandez, what does he look like? Somebody who would be able to play multiple positions, like Hernandez here. He's coming off a pretty rough year, but he's a great guy to have off the bench. Even though his numbers are not that great, I know I've seen him play quite a bit with the Dodgers on TV and MLB app. He's a scrappy player. I don't know if that's reflected. It looks like it might be reflected in this game. But he can play second, short a little bit, left, center, third. Just a 2-star player. But if I got him for a year, then Herrera, whose ratings aren't that solid yet, and Blandino, that might allow me to move those guys around. So I think I'm gonna try that then. So I'm gonna look at shortstop again, and I'll see if he will take just a 1-year contract. It says he will, so I'm gonna go for that. So far, not 5.2 million in offers. No big stars. That's fine. I feel like we got some good options already on the team. But now catcher. So for catcher, I'm going to be looking for a decent backup. And at this point, I'm not really too worried about offense. I'd rather have defense. Romine again might be a good option, but his offensive ratings, even though he had a solid year off the bench last year and pretty good in 2018, he is a good defender. I worry that those ratings aren't going to give him much numbers-wise in this game. But he is one of the better defenders, who's at least a star or better overall. And I go down to Tyler Flowers, who he wants to be in the starting lineup. And I don't see that happening with his ratings either. And of course, Salvador Perez, he would definitely want to be in the starting lineup. I'm not sure if he would be an upgrade defensively. I don't think he would be an upgrade defensively over Barnhart, but he would be an upgrade offensively pretty much. I wonder how his injury history is here in this game. Yeah, he was out quite a bit in 18, but he played, for the most part, he played a full season, but it looks like he only started maybe half their games. Now, if I signed him, he would probably be in some type of platoon situation with Barnhart, and Barnhart's quite a bit better against righties. So I need somebody who really can hit against lefties, and hope that Girardi platoons him pretty evenly, or at least against lefties. And that's the thing about Romine. He is a lot better against lefties. So I know I let the guy go, but I think I might try him as well for that backup. See if he will go one more year for $1.7 million. So here we have Romine, Owings, Hernandez, and honestly, Owings is probably the only one who might have a shot at starting of those choices. So not too much there, but just trying to develop the team without losing too much in terms of all that money I have available. So now the big question here is the bullpen solid enough? And I don't think it is. I've got some 3 stars, 2.5. Closer, I might be okay with Chad Green for another year, but the rest is looking a little iffy. So I'm going to try to really boost that reliever core. And we'll see what we got here. So we got a couple guys, couple good 3.5-star options there. I do like him. Now, would he sign for maybe a year or 2? Let's see. He wants 3 years. Nicasio, $4.6 million for I don't know what he would go with for a couple years. That looks pretty good. And let's see what my scout thinks of him. Setup role, not as strong against lefties, but I think he would be serviceable. 16 stuff, 9 movement, 11 control. Nakamura, who is fragile, and he's an international free agent, so he's kind of untested. And then Rosenthal probably wants to, no, he doesn't want to be the closer. But his control is an issue at this point with those ratings there. Don't want to try that. Colomb, pretty solid overall. Didn't have a great year. For the most part, the ERA was really high. So there's several 3 stars, and then you get below that, and then it's probably going to be iffy. I want to stick to these top guys here. And I'd say the one I really like is if I could get him for just... He has big trouble with lefties. Oh, yeah, he does. And then Brad Brock, coming off a really tough couple of years here. I kind of like, even though his movement's a little low, he's only went in a couple of years. He's coming off several solid years here in a row. I mean, since he was put in the bullpen, primarily, he's looked really good. 97 games last year, so he seems like he's durable. So I'm going to offer him 4.6 for 2 years. I think I'm okay with that. I'm going to go ahead and submit that. So now we're up to $11.5 million offered, and that leaves me with the big question: do I want to offer Zhang? Man, he's a 4-star from OSA. I'm going to offer him 4 years. The last is going to be a vesting option. We'll say 145 innings. And I'm going to go, I'm going to go, just to start off the negotiations here, I'm going to go $15 million. And let's see what he does. So he comes back with 5 years and a player option. Now, if I can make it 4 years and a player option, now he's wanting a little bit more, but it's 5 years. Let's see if he'll take that last one as a vesting option at 145 innings. No, he's still going up. He wants what he wants. So we're back up to 17 million. And is he really worth 17 million? So his mood is already soured on me. Let's see if he'll do 4 million at that offer. Yeah, so he's gonna do it. That would leave me still with 38 million. We'll see what he does. I'll try it because I think he's a good enough pitcher if he stays healthy. I think he's good enough that he would really help my pitching staff, and that would basically mean that I would have Hamels, Castillo, Molly, Nelson, and this guy probably as my 5-man rotation, and I think that would really be a lot better. Certainly until Hunter Green hopefully develops, and I've got Hamels who's got that player option next year. He may not be around. Lynn is going to be gone after next year, and Castillo still got some time left for him, but Jimmy Nelson will probably be a free agent next year. So I'm going to lose some guys anyway. So hopefully that wouldn't be too bad of a move. But that's where I'm going to leave it for now. We'll see. I'm going to sim offline, see how these offers worked out, if they all take or if they don't, and probably come back at the start of spring training and let you know how the offseason went. I don't figure I'll have too many trade opportunities because I don't want to lose, my bigger trade bait is going to be those big prospects. I don't really want to lose them, although might have some room with some of these outfielders in low A. I might try that, or if we get to the winter meetings and I wasn't able to sign any of the guys. But I think that's a good start to free agency. We're going to hope next year. I'm really shooting to make the playoffs again next year and hopefully win the division. I think we were only 6 games back of Chicago last year. Had we not collapsed there in the second half, and that was really injuries and just, I think, bad luck that caused that, I think we would have had a chance at even winning the division last year. So that's where I'm shooting for next year. And I think if everything holds true, I think 5 years or so, we might have a World Series contender here. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you next episode.